With Season 7 of the Duracell Next Gen Cup Series drawing to a close and Season 8 on the horizon, it's time to find out who is going to get that final elusive full-time chartered ride in the Duracell Next Gen Cup Series for Season 8 tonight. 80 laps will determine said driver as 6 competitors will vie for that position. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to North Wilkesboro Speedway as it plays host to our special event. 6 drivers looking for one available spot. The number 33 ride out of Michael Norman Motorsport left vacant and going to be filled for the 8th season of Next Gen Cup Series competition. These 6 drivers have 80 circuits at this historic racetrack in front of them here tonight. 1 driver will be moving on to the Cup Series. The other 5 will have to make other contingency plans. Now, 3 of them already are in line for Duracell Ultra Light Series rides in the upcoming 2nd season. David Dixon, who lines up on the pole position here tonight, Skylar Taylor, who lines up to his outside, obviously both took part in last year's, or the current, I should say, season of the Duracell Ultra Light Series. David Dixon and Skylar Taylor, both winners in said series as well, but they'd like to move up to the Cup Series. If they can't, however, tonight, they are both going to be taking part in next season's Ultralight Series. David Dixon in the 45, Skylar Taylor in the number 29 Mazda. Another driver who was just recently signed to a Duracell Light Series contract is Daniel Bouchard back there in the Country Time neon yellow and pink number 51. He was signed to the number 40 out of Michael Norman Motorsport. So if any of those 3 end up winning here tonight, it'll be interesting to see what happens to that Light Series ride they were originally signed for, as they would then be granted the charter and the full-time ride in the Cup Series. But for the other 3 drivers, Sam Adozka in the 24, Colin Cropley in the 5, and Spencer Lee in the 1, they at this point don't have any contingency plans for next season, so they are basically, at this point in time, it seems kind of a win or bust to try and make their way into a contracted ride for at least one of the 2 series that will be running next season. Going to be an interesting one here tonight in the fact that it is a small field, so the odds are greater for drivers' opportunity to be able to win this race. Also the fact as well, when we go to a short track, normally with a big field, mid-pack, rear of the field, that's not where you want to be. You want to start up front. You want to be up at least in the first 3, 4, 5 rows up inside of the top 10 because track position is usually very important. With that being said, only 6 cars in the field here tonight makes your chances that much greater of being able to take this checkered flag. So yeah, he may be starting dead last, but Spencer Lee has just as good a chance of winning this race as pole sitter David Dixon. Also going to be interesting to see what happens in terms of the length of this race. 80 circuits. Not going to take them very long to tick these laps away, but it will be interesting to see because this is an abrasive, worn-out racetrack. It will be tough on tires, and I'm not exactly 100% certain what the fuel window is like. So the question remains, if we end up running a good portion of this race under green flag, which I don't see why we wouldn't, how much fuel do they have? Can they get to the end, or will pit road play itself a part into factoring in who is going to get this victory here tonight? We'll have to wait and see, but I'm excited to find out. Hope you guys are too. This is going to not only be an opportunity for some drivers to be able to put themselves in the running for a Cup Series ride next season, it's also going to give us in the graphical department a opportunity to test out some things that you'll see featured in the upcoming 2nd season of Lights and 8th season of Cup, so hope you guys are buckled in and ready to go. These drivers we're going to go down trackside now, get those most famous words in motorsports.
Gentlemen, start your engine!
I'm up in the center of 1 and 2 up here, so as you're going down the back stretch into 3, it may appear to me that they're inside, but they may be just shy of that. I'll really try to stay on top of that all night, buddy.
Bottom right of your screen, you see tonight's starting lineup. David Dixon and Skylar Taylor. A couple of drivers have gone to victory lane in the current 1st season of Duracell Ultra Lights already. And trying to get themselves a checkered flag here in tonight's modified special event. Out of turn 4 into the Geico restart zone. And the Kevin Harvick throwback machine of David Dixon will get us underway here tonight at North Wilkes. You can hear just how much off the throttle time there is as the battle is on for second. Daniel Bouchard all over the back bumper of Samit Ozkan. Good battle back for fourth place as well. Colin Cropley completes the pass around Spencer Lee, as David Dixon currently has opened up a near 7/10 of a second gap back to the second position. Wrapping it right down on the inside line as best he can. You see the different patches around here, around the track. A lot of repairs made to the track surface, but a lot of worn out area as well. And that can upset a race car, even one that's got as much downforce as a modified car, that low to the ground, because it will affect the grip that you have with the tires. The worn out surface then to the new asphalt, and it can get a little slidey when you get onto the newer asphalt, as Colin Cropley on the move. Makes the pass around Daniel Bouchard for the third position. Now going to set his sights on the 24 of Samit Ozkan, and running some really good lap times right now, even in traffic, as Colin Cropley. He's going to make the pass around the 24 and move into P2. Cropley, who started from the fourth position, dropped back to fifth and now has worked his way up to the runner-up spot. Now we'll see if he's got enough speed to be able to get up there and close up the gap between himself and David Dixon that has opened up to nearly a second and a half. Ten laps in the books as David Dixon continues to show the way here tonight at North Wilkesboro. Colin Cropley, though, beginning to reel him in. What was about 1.6 seconds has now been cut down to 1.3, and Cropley is continuing to make up ground. Third position right now is Daniel Bouchard, and he is the fastest car on the racetrack at this point, clocking in at a 19.9 to the 20.0 and 20.1s run by the top two. Spencer Lee right now in the fourth position, Samit Ozkan in fifth, and Skylar Taylor, who started this race from the outside of the front row, has drifted back to last, and he has lost quite a bit of ground to even fifth place. Now, I know for certain that North Wilkesboro is going to be on the Cup Series schedule for Season 8. So whoever ends up winning this race, they could have a little bit of an edge when we come back to this historic racetrack in the Cup Series. I'm pretty certain, but I might be wrong, that the Duracell Ultra Light Series are coming to North Wilkesboro as well in Season 2. So if that is the case, then some of the drivers that obviously aren't going to win here tonight, but still would be in the Duracell Ultra Light Series field, they would have a little bit of extra track time in preparation for that race also. As Colin Cropley continues to close up, let's go on board with the 5 and listen in to how he's been able to close up the gap between himself and race leader David Dixon. Closing up the gap ever so slightly, but it seems like now that he's gotten to David Dixon, he's not exactly sure what he can do to get around him. And if these two start to battle, Daniel Bouchard is not that far back. He could have an opportunity to be able to close in and make it a three-man fight for the top spot. Cropley looking like he's going to get right to the back bumper of Dave Dixon. Now shows the nose down to turn one. Looking for our first lead change of the night. Dixon hanging tough in that second lane. Door to door. Off of turn two and down the back straightaway. Cropley, I think, could get him cleared here off of four, and indeed he will. Gets back to the throttle. Dixon gets a little loose there on the top, and Cropley will go to the race lead. Quarter of the way through this evening's race, Dixon led the first 21 laps, and now Colin Cropley will get out in clean air. Lap times are already falling off. Most of your front runners ran in the 19.9s. And now they're running in the high 20 flats. Daniel Bouchard continues to be the fastest car on the racetrack, though. He has the fastest lap of the race so far, 19.935. Currently holding down that third position and trying to close up what's about a 2-second gap between himself and the race leader, about a 1.5 seconds between himself and David Dixon in the battle for second. It looks like Dixon's car has gone away the longer the run has gone on. Daniel Bouchard and Colin Cropley's cars have gotten better on this tire run. Spencer Lee currently holding down the fourth position in the Rick Mass throwback. He's already about 0.3 of a second off of his fastest lap. As Samet Özkan is trying to close in on him, make it a battle for the fourth position. But only one position really matters in this race here tonight, and that is the driver that finishes P1. They will end up being the driver of the number 33 for Michael Norman Motorsports, a chartered Cup Series ride in next season's Duracell Next Gen Cup Series. Ride formerly driven by Mitchell Collins, a multi-time Next Gen Cup Series winner. Well, Skylar Taylor out here just logging laps right now. His pace has fallen off the most. He's now down in the 20.8s. His fastest lap was a 20.5. He had great qualifying speed, but I guess that didn't really translate over to good race pace, as he started this race from the second position with a qualifying lap of 20.112. He's not run a single lap anywhere close to that vicinity. And this race continues to progress green. You got to think that maybe with the pace he's setting, the pace that Colin Cropley is setting, maybe the 7 might end up finding himself getting put a lap down here. It's not a great distance to make your way around North Wilkesboro, even with 6 cars, especially with the difference of pace shown right now by the 7 in comparison to the race leader. Here's your brewing battle for second place. Daniel Bouchard has reeled in David Dixon. A couple of drivers at this point that would be battling next season for the Duracell Ultra Light Series Championship, unless one of them is able to get up there and wrestle this lead away from Colin Cropley. Still a long ways to go, not quite halfway in this race. Colin Cropley has led the last 10 laps so far. He shows the way here tonight in the NCRA North Wilkesboro special event. Pit stops taking place here at North Wilkesboro, just ahead of the halfway point. We weren't certain what the fuel window looked like. We're getting an idea about 30 to 35 laps, which means this would not be the last time these drivers would have to hit pit road. And now it's on the crews in terms of who's going to have the advantage here. Obviously, I think a lot of drivers would be looking for some adjustments to their race cars. As Colin Cropley pulls into the attention of his crew. Daniel Bouchard right behind him. David Dixon further up with that number 1 pit stall. The battle was close for second place before the pit stops began between the 29 and the 51. We'll see who wins the battle off of pit road. Cropley going to leave. How far behind is David Dixon going to be? Dixon not that far back, and then Daniel Bouchard coming out right behind him. Let's see what kind of adjustments were made and how that's going to affect these drivers here for this next run until their next round of pit stops, which will be somewhere, I would think, somewhere between laps 60 and 70, so right within anywhere from 15 to 20 to go. Fresh rubber got to be feeling good for these drivers as they'll bring them up to temperature, to optimal temperature for maximum grip. David Dixon was good on the short run, not good on the long run. What kind of adjustments could they have made? What kind of air pressure adjustments could they have made to be able to help him out as he tries to reel back in Colin Cropley, get back to the point? So far, Dixon's led 20 laps. Cropley's led the last 15. And Daniel Bouchard, who had the fastest car in the early going, trying to get up there to second place. Holding down the third spot. You see him kind of straggle the line that David Dixon was run down the front straightaway, trying to get as much clean air to the nose in preparation for the entrance to turn 1. Not seeing nearly as much pickup on lap times with the fresh tires as I expected. Probably right there, just ran a 20.3. That's 4/10 off the fastest lap he's run so far in this race. Dixon ran a 20.1, however, and Danny Bouchard a 20.2. So they are running faster than the 5 car at the moment. Let's see if Cropley picks it up this lap. Nope, 20.4. That's the tough thing with being the leader, too. Car feels great. You don't want to make any adjustments on it. And all of a sudden, the cars that do make adjustments, then they've got the advantage on you. And that might be the case right now. We could have 3 cars battling for this race lead if the pace continues as it's trending right now for Dixon and Bouchard. A lot of new stuff happening in the upcoming new seasons for Next Gen Cup Series and the Duracell Ultralight Series, especially on the Duracell Ultralight Series side where there will be playoffs. No playoffs here in the first season. Running basically kind of the Winston Cup format as we've just crossed the halfway threshold here tonight. We'll have 7 playoff races, 3 rounds. 10 drivers will make it into the playoffs on the Light Series side. Then it will be after 3 races down to 7, and after 3 races down to our final 4. Championship going to be determined at Michigan, just like the Cup Series. A couple of things on the Cup Series side. One of the exciting announcements is the fact that the Throne of Games special event will be coming back at the road course of Donkey Kong Raceway, but it was formerly at Darlington, and drivers would run game-themed related cars. Well, they're going to get to do that again, not at Darlington. Darlington will actually be the throwback race for the Cup Series in Season 8, but a lot of cool stuff happening on both ends, Cup and Lights, for next season. And how about this? The gap has closed up. Dixon and Bouchard have reeled in Colin Cropley, and I'm looking at lap times, and Spencer Lee in the 1 back there is running the fastest laps right now. He could have a shot of getting up here into the conversation if they race it up amongst the top 3. And we know there's at least 1 more pit stop still to go as well. Throw a blanket over the top 3, nose to tail. Cropley, Dixon, and Bouchard. Keep an eye back there, top of your screen at the 1 of Spencer Lee. Definitely got a shot. He is running anywhere from 2 to 3 tenths faster than the top 3, because obviously right now, the top 3, with how close they are, they're having to kind of adhere to each other's braking zones. It's slowing them down a little bit. No clean air. Dixon yet to make a move, as gets a little loose there in the entrance of turn 1, slides up. These drivers, they are, I believe now, when they cross the line, within the fuel window to make it the rest of the way, but I don't think you're going to see anybody come into pit road until very last minute, somewhere around maybe lap 66, 67, somewhere in that vicinity. As Daniel Bouchard thought he might show the nose, not able to quite do it. The biggest thing with being able to make a move at North Wilkesboro with how short the straightaways are is to be able to get the run off the corner, whether it's off of 2 or off of 4, get that momentum, carry it down the straightaway to get either a nose inside or alongside of the car you're battling going into turn 3 or into the entrance of turn 1. And I don't think anybody's been able to quite get that power down to be able to get that momentum on the straightaway. You see Daniel Bouchard there, shade a little bit lower on the front straightaway. Thought that might affect him going into turn 1, but didn't really. He was able to kind of diamond the corner as he continues to try to put the pressure on David Dixon. And there you see Spencer Lee in the 1, closing in. Spencer Lee holds the fastest lap of the race at a 19.739, and he turned that on this current run. So obviously a lot of adjustments were made, and they have had positive results for the 29, the 51, and the 1. Suddenly, Colin Cropley has not scampered away with this victory, and he's going to have 3 hungry drivers on his back bumper in just a moment here. Here's the battle for second. David Dixon slipped up the track. Daniel Bouchard stuck his nose in. They'll go side by side for P2, and Bouchard should be able to outbrake him through 3 and 4 and move into the second spot. Now he puts the pressure on Cropley. Almost got into the back of him there off of turn 4. Cropley looks in his rearview mirror, and now it is the Neil Bonnet throwback rather than the Kevin Harvick machine. As Bouchard looks like he can really hook that bottom, and he's going to get to the inside of Cropley. He's going to go to the race lead, and Spencer Lee is now up here in this lead group. Bouchard now no longer in traffic, and he opened up some distance. David Dixon will move into second. Cropley, just like that, goes from the lead back to third, and he may lose that because Spencer Lee gets to his inside. The freight train continues around the bottom of the racetrack and give the spot to the 1. Cropley now drops outside of the podium as Bouchard, Dixon, and Lee now first, second, and third, coming around to 25 laps to go. Can Daniel Bouchard, who was already in line for a full-time Duracell Ultra Light Series ride out of the Michael Norman Motorsports stables for Season 2, could he be moving up to the Cup Series? And taking the checkered flag here tonight at North Wilkesboro, David Dixon, Spencer Lee, Cropley still in this conversation as we close in on 20 to go here tonight at North Wilkesboro. Battle is on for the second position as David Dixon tries to hold off a hard-charging Spencer Lee. This battle taking place about 0.7 of a second behind your race leader, Daniel Bouchard, third different leader on the night. Colin Cropley, the former leader, out in front for 32 circuits. David Dixon was the pole sitter, led the first 20 laps, and Daniel Bouchard's now led the last 8. Spencer Lee might be a little bit quicker than David Dixon, but he's having trouble getting around him, and that is allowing Daniel Bouchard to open up the gap. However, we are at less than 20 to go. We know that at least one more pit stop's going to take place here, as these drivers went about 33 laps on the first stint before hitting pit road. So somewhere in the next 5 laps, we'll see these drivers probably make their final pit stop of the night, and it will be the money stop. If my math is correct, they'll probably have to take on at least a can and a half of fuel. Do they go with 4 tires? Or do they maybe gamble and go with just right side tires? Remember what's on the line here tonight. Only one driver will emerge victorious with not only the checkered flag, but also with a chartered full-time ride in the number 3 for Michael Norman Motorsports in the upcoming 8th season of the Duracell Next Gen Cup Series. Daniel Bouchard has put on a blistering pace here tonight. Earlier on this evening had the fastest lap. That has since been eclipsed by Spencer Lee, but then was able to battle his way up from 3rd to the race lead after a phenomenal adjustment on the green flag pit stop. Spencer Lee still stuck behind the 29, and meanwhile we've got a brewing battle maybe for 4th place. Samit Ozkan has all of a sudden found a little bit of momentum. Either that or Colin Cropley has really fallen back. Those two were about to battle for 4th place, but they're both hitting pit road, short pitting, ahead of the top 3. Let's see how this works out for them. You got to think that the 51 of Bouchard, he'll be coming to pit road this time. I think maybe 2nd and 3rd will follow him down. No. Bouchard stays out another lap, and 2nd and 3rd are coming in, Dixon and Lee. Big gamble here for Daniel Bouchard. Must be looking for that fresher tire advantage. We'll see, based off of up-to-speed lap times here, if Dixon and Lee can close in on him in what's going to be somewhere around 10 laps to go once everybody gets back up to full song, as Bouchard now makes the dive onto pit road. Final pit stop of the night for all these drivers, and it's a critical one that could very well be the difference maker into whether you're winning this evening at North Wilkesboro or not. Colin Cropley, Samit Ozkan up to speed. They're coming around there to unlap themselves. Looks like Spencer Lee was able to jump David Dixon on pit road, so he would cycle at least to 2nd place, but they have that 1 lap advantage on the short pit. How much ground can they close in on the 51 of Daniel Bouchard? There's your answer. Bouchard going into 3. Spencer Lee just now going into turn 3. He's cleared the 29, so now the question is, can Spencer Lee match lap times or better lap times than the 51, and now the 29 of David Dixon gets to his inside, moves into the 2nd spot. So apparently the adjustment they made on the 1 not that great. Now David Dixon's got about 10 laps to be able to close in on Daniel Bouchard for this race lead, and there you see the gap. Almost half a straightaway. We'll do some lap time comparisons here as Daniel Bouchard, I don't think he's quite got his tires up to temperature. That last time by a 20.969. 20.4 for David Dixon. Question is, how much time does David Dixon have here as well? Is that time by 9 laps to go? These laps tick away at North Wilkesboro. Can he reel him in quickly enough? Another 20.9 for Daniel Bouchard, 20.2 for David Dixon. It's a 2.2 second gap from Bouchard back to Dixon. If this pace keeps up, he's going to catch him within 3 laps. Colin Cropley is now reeling in Spencer Lee for the 3rd spot. Looking for the final spot on the podium, but that's all it would garner them. They wouldn't advance to the Cup Series. Finishing back there is David Dixon, 0.3 of a second quicker that last lap. This time by Bouchard ran a 20.4, Dixon a 20.0. Closed up another 0.4 of a second. We are going to have ourselves a battle for this win in the closing stages, folks, and it may be on the very last lap of this race. 2.7 seconds has been cut down to 1.9. You can visibly see the gap has closed up between Bouchard and David Dixon. Dixon started this race on the pole, clocking in at a 20.046. looking to go coast to coast, but he hasn't led a lap ever since the completion of lap 20. 5 to go here at North Wilkesboro. Bouchard with about maybe 8 car lengths back to David Dixon. Plenty of time for Dixon to get there, but once he gets there, what can he do with the country time number 51? These laps cannot tick away quick enough for Daniel Bouchard, who's just got to keep both eyes out the windshield. If he looks in the rearview mirror, he'll probably make a mistake, and David Dixon will be more than happy to capitalize. Now 4 car lengths back. Make it 3. Make it 2.5 through 3 and 4. David Dixon closing up the gap as they'll hit the line for 3 to go. David Dixon, a multi-time winner in the Duracell Light Series this season. What could he do if he makes it up to the Cup Series? He's showing what he can do here tonight as he has reeled in Daniel Bouchard. It'll be 2 laps to go. Now Bouchard, what kind of prowess can he show in terms of playing defense? As Dixon, trying to arc the corner, lets it drift up, diamond it off the exit, try and get that run the back straightaway. Not going to work this time. Searching for clean air, try to find some way to get the momentum to get around the 51. White flag in the air, defensive low line for Daniel Bouchard. Down on the bottom going into turn 1. He gets onto the brakes, slows it in time. Now down the back straightaway. One last chance for David Dixon into 3. Trying to outbrake the 51. Bouchard keeps it hooked on the bottom. Dixon tries to make the run. Not going to get there. Daniel Bouchard is going to pick up the victory here tonight in the NNSCRA North Wilkesboro special event. Daniel Bouchard is going to the Next Gen Cup Series in Season 8. Michael Norman Motorsports now officially has its 4th driver. It'll be another driver that will compete for the Rookie of the Year honors in Season 8. And Daniel Bouchard, starting in the Daytona 500 in Season 8 of the Cup Series, will be making his Cup Series debut, winning here tonight in a thriller at North Wilkesboro, holding off a hard-charging David Dixon. What an incredible race from start to finish. 3 different leaders out in front, all 3 leaders leading at least 20 laps. And Daniel Bouchard started this race from the 5th position and will bring it home with the win. Commiserations to David Dixon, Colin Cropley, Spencer Lee, Sam Adoskan, and Skylar Taylor. They will all have to make alternate arrangements, if you will, to be able to take part in next season. David Dixon and Skylar Taylor, we know, already have done so. They have got rides for the Light Series in Season 2 already wrapped up for Cropley, Lee, and Oskin. Will we see them on track next year in either Cup or Lights capacity? We will have to wait and see. But here's your full facial results. Thank you so much for tuning in to tonight's special event. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If this is a sign of things to come in both Lights and Cup Series competition next season, I cannot wait for that. We still obviously got to finish out our current seasons of Lights and Cup. Got to crown some champions. That's going to be taking place here within the next month. Hope you guys will continue to stay tuned for that. But man, I'll tell you what, cannot wait for that off season and getting ready for the new seasons to begin. Congratulations once again to Daniel Bouchard, your winner here tonight in the North Wilkesboro special event. He will pilot the number 33 Ford Dark Horse Mustang for Michael Norman Motorsports full-time as a chartered ride in the Cup Series in Season 8 of Next Gen Cup Series. Thank you all once again for tuning in tonight. I've been Seth Cole, and you've been watching the broadcast courtesy of NNSCRA Offline Racing at its best.